Okay, welcome to our last meeting of February, and here we are. So the usual thing, we'll try to do this both in IRC and in video, and I will most likely fail miserably, but we'll have the recording. Okay, let's move on to announcements. So congratulations to Rajat. I think this happened last week, but I missed it at the last week's meeting. Anyway, Rajat's going to be the next PTL for Cinder starting in Zed. So congratulations. I'm extremely happy about this. And Rajat's also going to organize the Zed virtual PTG. So he'll take charge of that. So he'll start off with a bang. So congratulations, Rajat, and looking forward to seeing what happens in Zed. Okay, cinderclient yoga release has to happen this week. Technically tomorrow. And since we're being recorded, I won't say. We could sort of push that to Friday. But there's some small patches. I guess, Rajat, what's this? So one major. So we have this coordination thing that goes on because the Cinder client needs to support changes to the API, but API changes can merge later, right? So we've got two things that affect the API, and it's Alan's patch that eliminates the need to have the project ID in the URL, which is essential for the secure RBAC stuff we've been working on. So that patch has 1+2 and it's ready to go. So we should please somebody review it so we can get that approved Cinder side. And then it's just a quick, that one has really, the only impact is just kicking up the, so we have a maximum, there's some kind of thing that constant we have defined in the Cinder client that indicates the maximum level of microversion support. So we just need to kick that up one, but it doesn't actually, there's no actual code change other than that on the Cinder side. And then the other feature happening that has API impact is the one Rajat's working on to allow the volume reimage. How's that looking in terms of making yoga? Because you also have some Nova side changes.
So the Nova patch is ready. I posted and I asked Dan to review it. So he has, like he left some comments. I've addressed them. So
okay.
Like his main concern is regarding a Tempest test, which I will probably write by today or tomorrow. And other than that, I think he feels good about it. The Nova and Nova client patches are up for review.
Okay. All right, good. So I'll make sure I review that today. As far as the Cinder client side, is there a patch for that?
Yeah, there is a patch.
Okay. It probably shows up in that query. And I'm not talking. All right, so announcements. Okay, so the add volume reimage command, great. Okay, and good. That's a pretty straightforward patch, so shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so people, please concentrate on that. So Alan's is pretty much ready to go, and Rajat's is up next.
So Brian, does Alan's patch has a micro version update?
Yes, it does. So yours is probably going to conflict with it. What micro version did you use?
3.67.
I think that's the same one he used.
No problem, I will rebase.
What is the, could you, oh, It's in the Etherpad, the patch, the Alan's patch, because I must have queried incorrectly. I cannot find it.
Yeah,
Alan's
it's
cinderclient patch.
yeah, sorry. Here's I'm disorganized this morning. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I had a mouse or so I'm in the basement, and so I've got one of those window wells, and every so often a small creature falls down in it and can't get out. So it's either a mouse or a mole fell in this morning. So I put a, but it makes a lot of noise in there because it's like corrugated metal. So anyway, so I've been distracted. So I put a little bridge for him to climb out. I don't think he's taking advantage. All right, sorry. So yeah, so the Allen's patch is here.
Oh, it's in the adjacent, in the other Etherpad. Okay.
Yeah, got too many ether pads.
Oh, but that's Cinder, not cinderclient.
Yeah, so the thing is, right, so that's the Cinder patch. Alan was going to post another one, but I guess actually if your patch raises, sorry, Rajat, if you change your micro version to be 3.68 or whatever, then your patch to modify the Cinder client will handle his also. So if you don't, so if we can, I mean, right, we're assuming that his is going to be approved, which it hasn't yet, but it's got a +2. Everything appears to be working, so I think it's going to make it. So I know that gives you some extra work that you weren't expecting today, but if you could, let me see, where's the, yeah, so his patch is taking 3.67. So we just have to make sure it merges before yours. So if you could change yours to 3.68 on the Cinder side and also on the Cinder client side, then all we need to do is merge your patch and Cinder client, and it'll raise the maximum past Allen's. So we won't need a patch for his. Does that make sense?
Okay. I'm not sure, like, if I modify it right now, it might break something in Cinder, like, because there is a version gap. Then, if Alan's patch merges, then after that I can update. It should be a small change only.
Okay. All right. So I need, what we really need then is a core to commit to looking at Alan's patch immediately following the meeting. And you can trust me, it looks really good. It's got all the parts. It's got release note. It's got, documentation update, the whole deal. And conceptually, it's not difficult. So, and I don't think it does say so. I think in the commit message, he says it's based on work Manila did. So he's using a known code path to handle this kind of thing that Manila's had, I don't know, for like 3 or 4 cycles now. So we can be fairly confident it's not going to break anything. And finally, all the Tempest tests pass on this, and they don't monkey with the, in terms of backward compatibility, right? They're using the standard way to contact Cinder, which includes the project ID and the URLs. So the CI results on this are showing that, right, it works, even if you don't make any changes to Keystone. Okay. But it, wait, oh, okay. So yeah, so can I get a particular person to say that they will review this? The silence is deafening. Let's see, who isn't? So Normally the thing to do is, right, we pick a core who is not present and make them do it, except we really do have a time crunch, so I can't do that strategy. So we can save some other unpleasant task for people who aren't present. See, this is why we need a new PTL, Rajat. I think nobody can hear me.
I can hear you. It's a little
Yes, we can hear you.
slow.
I'm just kidding, Sophie.
Sorry.
That's even worse, though.
But you were volunteering there, Sophie.
I can help, but I have to be honest. I didn't hear anything because my connection is horrendous. Okay. I don't know really what has to do. I can help.
All right. So I should be writing this in the chat anyway. One thing I suggest for next cycle, Rajat, is we have a dedicated note taker for this, because I can't run the meeting and also take notes and talk at the same time. Maybe you can, but I can't. All right, so where we are is we need so the patch I'm talking about is this one. If you want to take a quick look, Sophie, and just look at the size of it to see if it's reasonable for you to do it, you know, in the next few hours. So you're not committed yet, but if you'd look, that would be helpful. So the situation is that we've got two Cinder patches that change the micro version for the API. So if we're going to have cinderclient support for those, they need to merge right away so that we can merge the cinderclient ones before we do the cinderclient release. I mean, so that's what we'd like to do. So Alan's is up first. It doesn't really entail any kind of code change on the cinderclient side, except for raising the max supported micro version constant. And then Rajat has two patches. He's got the Cinder side one, and then also the Cinder client one. So ideally, we'd like to get all that stuff handled in the next 2 days. But Alan's needs to be done like right away so that Rajat can rebase and continue.
Oh, I can do it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Sophie. Okay, so thanks. Okay. It's a mouse. He's having trouble getting up the little ramp I built him. Oh, well, the angle's pretty steep. I mean, but you know, it's a mouse. He's got claws. I don't know. The alternative is I'm gonna have to reach in there with a glove and just yank him out. The other thing that happens occasionally, though, is the neighborhood cat will suddenly scare the crap out of me one day because I'm just sitting here working, and all of a sudden this big thing flashed in the window, and the cat jumped in, grabbed the mouse, and jumped back out. It's like, whoa. Okay, so I digress. Crazy excitement. Okay, all right, so we're sort of, if not under control, we know what we're doing for Cinder client release. Right. So the other thing that's happening this week is a Cinder feature freeze. So we have the list of blueprints for yoga. Let me put a link. All right. there's some driver features that need to be reviewed. Also, Tushar has a series of patches doing the reset state robustification. I think the one at the, he's got them stacked. The one at the bottom, I think, is close, but I haven't done a final review yet. So that's also happening. But let me give you a link where to look for the blueprints for these. And then there's an extraneous blueprint that shows up in there because I have never figured out exactly how to use Launchpad blueprints effectively. So every so often they disappear. So ones you want to show up will occasionally disappear, and then ones I don't want to show up, I can't get rid of. So anyway, I had a question. I think everything we've been working on shows up in here. There's some problems with the third-party CIs. So any of the driver features, please make sure there's been a recent run of the of your CI on the patch, because when people we're under a time crunch, when people go to review, if they don't see a CI result, that's a good reason not to review the patch. So please put it there, and you can help us out by linking to the log that shows that the feature you have implemented has passed tests or is enabled. All that stuff makes us go faster, enables us to review other stuff. I had a question. I don't know if anyone's here from Hitachi. There's the Hitachi GAD support. That one does not have. I asked everybody to go through, make sure your whiteboard has a link to your patch, because that's how people will find it to review. And I don't know that there's a patch for this. So I'm inclined to sort of kick it out of the release as being something we don't need to review at the moment. But I wanted to allow somebody to say something first. Okay, so one thing I do know how to do is to send stuff to Zed, so I will do that. So this one's going to get moved to Zed. So I'll change the target. Three. Okay. All right. So anyway, these are the priorities for this next 2 days. All right, the cinderclient stuff, because we gotta get the release out, and then anything that's on this list, I'm pointing to it. But you've got the link in IRC, right? And it's on the agenda also, right? The driver patches and also the feature patches. So the features we've got, Rajat's reimaged the API, but we're going to review that really fast because we got to do it for cinderclient. Alan's thing is in here too. It's called something. It's in there though, I'm sure. Oh, maybe it disappeared. Anyway, you've got a link to Alan's patch and Sophie's reviewing it, so we're cool there. And then the driver things. And there are a few implemented things, so that's always nice. Okay, any questions about what we've got going on? Okay, that's it for announcements. So thank you for your attention. Next up is Sophia reminding us about the Outreachy call for mentors. So let me put that topic.
I don't have much to say. Like OpenStack is participating again in Outreachy for this upcoming round. Outreachy's goal is to support people from underrepresented groups in the technology industry. Interns will work remotely with mentors for 3 months, starting in May. And yeah, we are seeking mentors to propose Cinder features or, I know, bugs to work on or test plans to work on. And the interns can work on that during the internship. It can be, like I said, full features or just fixing a bug. Most of the time, the interns are beginners, so maybe low priority stuff is good. And yeah, if you are interested in mentoring for the next round, please submit a project proposal before March 4th. And I have to copy the link to that on IRC. The wiki page we shared last week, is not support anymore, so that's the right page to go, like the Outreachy.org. And yeah, mentor should read the questions and answers for mentors. And if you have any idea that you want to discuss or anything, you can contact me. I know it can be weird, but it's cool. I know. That's all I have. I don't know if I'm freeze or not. I hope not.
No, you're fine. We can hear you fine.
Okay.
Thanks. So the email that's linked has other links to information about what exactly is expected of a mentor. So you can check that out to see what kind of commitment you're getting into. It's not bad, I mean, but you should know, right? It would be good if we had something, because it is a good way to, enhance our community. But as Sophie said, you don't really know the level of technical expertise you're going to get, so you should probably assume it's a beginner. So we don't want to be overly ambitious about what, like I had a proposal to redo all the database stuff, which was probably not a good idea. So, we can look at we have some unimplemented specs, or we have some bugs that would give you some good exposure. But the main thing is you'll work with someone, you'll have to help them with their environment, you'll have to help them get used to, working with Garrett, reviewing, that kind of thing. So it could be very rewarding. So I encourage everyone to check this thing out, and then you can submit a proposal, and you know where to find Sophie and IRC if you have particular questions. So thanks, Sophie. Anything else? Okay. All right, let's move along. All right, this one's for Walt. So several people asked me about this, so I hadn't noticed it, and it doesn't show up in the logs. So I'm sorry, topic. Okay. But I think it's because I've got my IRC set, mainly because every so often people run into connection problems and they're constantly spanning stuff. It looks like that's what's happened to Poop. But I had two questions. One was, could you explain just what it is? Because it's been around a long time, but I don't think there's much institutional memory other than you and Jay.
Yeah.
For what to do with this thing.
Yeah, so for what it's worth, I shut it down today because I'm still dealing with network problems. It's an IRC bot that I wrote years ago now, back in not long after Hong Kong, that time frame, a long time ago. And we had been going through a lot of mid-cycle meetups with people, and we were just joking around about. In the old days of Cinder, people used to argue quite vigorously about features, and we would joke around about flipping tables, basically, to end conversations. And it turned into a bot that we could table flip. And so that's all this bot does, is that you can have it do a table flip for you and table flip to a particular person. It is just silly, nonsensical, and we had a good time with it for a little while, and that's all it does. That is all it does. So it's a pointless, absolutely totally pointless funny thing. So if it's having connectivity issues, I'll shut it down for a while and see if I can work that out on my own before I put it back up. If it's causing log joins and exits, because that's annoying. I totally get that. I didn't know I was doing that. So, but that is the only purpose for it.
You could implement a plugin for SupiBot or MeetBot or whatever it's named, the main bot used by OpenDev, propose it upstream, and it will magically pop up. And
that would be kind of cool. I have it running in a Docker container inside my home. Forever it's been fine, but my ISP nonsense has been a nightmare. So anyway.
All right, cool. Okay, so yeah, when you bring it back, let us know, and it'd be good we can document the command somewhere so we can flip tables at each other.
It has a help text. I'll post the GitHub URL to it so you guys can look at the code if you want. It's no secret.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's under control. Great. All right, thanks, Walt. Okay, next thing. All right, so then all right, so artificially inflated requirements in OS Brick. So I'm on a mission to like artificially inflate requirements. No, I mean, so basically, right, when, all right, so like 2 cycles ago, pip got upgraded. I mean, there was a major upgrade to pip where the resolver was rewritten so that it actually resolved dependencies correctly. And it caused a nightmare because it turned out that the old resolver had been allowing in all sorts of incompatible constraints anyway. And the advantage for us, I guess this isn't an advantage, the advantage was everybody's lower constraints worked fine. So the lower constraints are supposed to indicate for packagers, I guess, what are the minimum versions of our dependencies that you would expect to be able to use with working Cinder or cinderclient or OS Brick. So that's the basic idea. Now what we've discovered when the pip resolver was rewritten was that a lot of our lower constraints were completely out of line with reality because they were way too low and everything, it got to be a mess. So we got that straightened out. But what it made me realize was that the testing that's actually done in unit tests and in the gate is really with whatever is the maximum version in upper constraints, because the minima that show up in the requirements files mostly just say greater than or equal to something, and may have 1 or 2 exclusions, but greater than or equal to, so you wind up using the latest thing. So what I was worried about was that if we're testing with versions that are vastly different from what we claim you can run our code with, well, basically it's that we had no actual evidence that the minima that are specified in our requirements or test requirements file actually work unless we go ahead and run tests using those, and we don't. So what I did was decided just before we release is just update the minimum in the requirements files to be what we're actually using, which seems reasonable, but it can cause a problem for packagers. Well, because it means that everybody's got to use something more recent, at least with Brick. So anyway, discussion got started on the mailing list. I gave a quick response to it, but it's basically what I just said here is, what we say you can use with Cinder should be kind of close to what we are actually testing with. So anyway, I don't know what I want to do is get some feedback from the team. So what I said on the list is it would be good to have some guidance from OpenStack, because what happens is I changed the minimums for Brick, and then if Nova's still running a lower constraints test, which I believe they do, they have to adjust their stuff, because when they install Brick, we say, the minimum has to be a certain thing. So then they need to recognize that also. So it does have this sort of cascading effect where I make a change in Brick. I mean, because the change I make in Brick, I've also got to patch up for cinderclient to be consistent with that. And there'll be a patch with Cinder itself to be consistent with that. Yeah, so anyway, I don't know what I'm saying, except so I don't want to cause unnecessary pain to packagers, but at the same time, we do need to sort of, I think, like have evidence-based, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess the problem is the old lower constraints job showed that you could co-install the dependencies and you could run unit tests, but that's it, right? So you would not, and what I'm worried about is, right, running into situations where, although we don't use a particular functionality in one of the dependencies, something that we do use does, and if you're using too low a version, it might break, and we're not going to come across that in a test, but somebody's bound to come across it in actual life. So I don't know. We could roll this back. Now I don't know I think the requirements team might be okay with this, or the release team. We're at the library freeze for OS Brick, so we released it for Yoga, and that's supposed to be it. Now I believe if we proposed a patch that set the minimum in the requirements back and made no code changes, that might fly. But on the other hand, I don't know that we should actually do that. And then the other thing is, so I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud here. When I went through and did the patch, right, I divided it up between the OpenStack dependencies and, right, dependencies that are outside of OpenStack. And the ones outside of OpenStack were, for OS Brick, were just requests and something else. Oh, an eventlet. And there didn't seem any reason. I looked carefully at the changes in the change log, and there didn't seem to be any reason to change those. So I left those the way they were. The OpenStack ones, I think it's reasonable to say if I'm using an OpenStack library and I'm going to release Yoga, I should use the Yoga release of that OpenStack library because, right, they're all in this branching model. They have stable releases. I think we should stick along with that. But I don't know.
Well, I would tend to agree. I mean, the reality is that if not for Cinder, for some adjacent OpenStack service, there's going to be a reason to upgrade these OpenStack Python libraries for somebody who's trying to do a distro kind of operation with it. The mailing list thread had pointed to the idea that we should only bump them when there's a feature that's been added that we need. And I think that's really too conservative and doesn't really make a lot of sense because it opens up a giant, test matrix that we can't really cover to know that they all work right, like you were saying.
Yeah, I agree and I don't think we want to. Yeah, I mean, at some point you're gonna have to decide we either use it or we don't.
I don't think there's a lot of value from supporting the ability to run Cinder Yoga with like a 3-release old version of an Oslo log library or something. Like it's easier to just keep them moving forward. Honestly, we may want to look at when we do bump them. Do we bump them to the current release or do we bump them to the previous release? Or we could flex on some of that kind of stuff, I think, reasonably. But the general notion that we should try to not update them until we have to, I think, is just not really a good.
Yeah, I agree. Because I don't want to, right? Because we don't really know that well. Yeah. All right. So I put this on the TC for tomorrow because I'd like to get an answer from them. Because other than Jeremy Stanley, I don't think anybody's said anything. I mean, Jeremy's very pessimistic about actually being able to, have a serious lower constraints test that would be OpenStack wide. What I would just like to see is something like Eric just mentioned, it'd be nice if we had like a policy about, well, we want to coordinate things across all the projects, basically, I think, so everyone should do the same type of thing. So, all right. That's all I got about it.
Just a question. So basically, the important information which I didn't get from the mail, or I didn't read it properly, is that the last thing you said. So you only bumped version of libraries which are shipped with OpenStack and are regularly bumped, not the external ones, because that changes a lot. Because I would be again a lot against bumping any dependency which is external, because you may still want to, you may still have older dependencies and still use them from the system. But if it's about the OpenStack ones, then it may be up to debate. So
yeah, let me see if I can. So we can take a look to see if I actually did that. So in IRC, this was the patch that I proposed. I got that long commit message. And I think, right, PBR is the OpenStack thing. We got the Oslos, Castellan's OpenStack.
Yeah, but PBR, for example, I'm not sure if PBR is branched for each OpenStack version. Not totally sure. So that's kind of internal but external. So that when you consider internal libraries, there should be the libraries which are branched. If they are not branched, then, for example, there are a few Oslo ones which I think they switched the model, then it may be a different story. So for PBR, it's something I wouldn't bump automatically. It's kind of external, even though it's developed on OpenStack, opendev.org.
Yeah, it's also nothing that all the requirements changes that we do land in Brick and Cinder, we generally mirror those into RDO on a regular basis and haven't found any hang up doing that in that world so far.
Yeah, but that depends, because in RDO there is some more freedom of bumping stuff and doing backports than trying to have them properly in a distribution like in Debian, at least for what Thomas does. So that's not the only example. I mean, just having RDO as an example doesn't provide you the full picture, I believe.
Well, sure. I mean, the Debian distribution is a pretty conservative, slow-moving thing, which is going to be hard to put OpenStack into in general because of that, since we release every 6 months.
So for example, for your example, I'm not sure. As tester, for example, I don't think there are many relevant changes happened that could have requested a bump. And for a few, as I said, for a few Oslo libraries, I don't remember which one changed their model. Yeah. For sure, we needed Oslo VMware because that was needed for the. So that's not the discussion. That was needed. That's it. But maybe for a few others,
yeah. So it'd be good to have some actual guidance on this. So I'll ask the T's anyway. So that's the situation. So I'll see what they say tomorrow. But I mean, I need an answer from them tomorrow because I'll be proposing the cinderclient patches to make cinderclient consistent with this. But okay, so just sort of a point of information that I imagine there'll be discussion about this for Zed, but I don't know what we'll be doing for Yoga. But I'll know tomorrow.
Well, and it's also pretty reasonable that it would make sense to be more conservative on updating the client requirements than Cinder and Brick.
Well, that's true. Yeah, so I'll post a patch. I'll send something to the mailing list. Anyone with an interest in this, please review the patch and flag stuff that you think there's no point changing. I don't think I posted that patch yet. I think I still have it in my local repo. Mainly because I was waiting for this. Okay, so I'll keep an eye out on the mailing list. All right, next topic. Okay. PTG planning. Take it away, Rajat.
Yeah, hi. So as Brian already announced, I will be the next PTL for the Zed release. So I was preparing for planning the PTG, which is quite close. It's 4th to 8th April. So I have created an Etherpad which has some basic information, like mostly it took information from the last PTGs, and it has a schedule. I I added this topic just to confirm. So we, for the past 3 virtual mid-cycle, PTGs, we have been using this time slot of UTC 1300 to 1700. It's a 4-hour slot. We tend to use 3 hours, and for extended topics, we use the extra hour. So that has worked for everyone in the past. But I would still like, if anyone doesn't feel comfortable with that timing and would want to reconsider. So in that case, I could create a poll if people want to vote in that for a new timing. All the available timings are available on the EtherCAD document. I also have pointed that out in my topic. So there are different slots and different meeting rooms. For Cinder, I have just put out in the Juno room from 5th April to 8th April. That's what we do usually from Tuesday to Friday. We keep the PTG. So yeah, if anyone has concerns with the timings which we have followed in the past, then do tell me, or you can contact me regarding that. And another thing I wanted to discuss was regarding the medium of doing the PTG. So previously we have done that in BlueJeans, but
Rajat, I think you just froze. So this might be one reason we don't want to use BlueJeans.
Am I audible now?
Okay, yeah, you're back. Sorry. But yeah, so
disconnected.
I think what you were saying is you're open to suggestions for alternative video means. So the foundation has Zoom. I know some people, I don't know if anyone in the Cinder community is like hardcore anti-Zoom, but I know some people are. There's Google Meet, which is not accessible in China, but that's not so that's one reason not to use it. Although if we aren't going to have participants from China, then it's not something to worry about. But probably in general, there's
Google
also
Meet is really bad. Brian, Google Meet is really bad at sucking CPU and freezing laptops. I've heard.
Yes, I've had that experience myself. So okay, all right. So let's rule out Google Meet. We've tried MeetPad for for the Festival of Extra Small Reviews. I know Walt has had problems with MeetPad. It crashed on me.
It has audio problems as well. Some people are able to hear some people, and others are totally out of the conversation. So
yeah, so that hasn't been that good. So BlueJeans does have some problems, but it does seem to work pretty well. But anyway, we're open to things. So please suggest things to Rajat. We can also have a quick 10-minute fake meeting, to try things out, leading up to the PTG, just to see if something is going to work. Or
if you were thinking of going down the Zoom route, whose account are you going to use? Are you going to use the foundation's?
Yeah, I think that would be
otherwise you're limited to a 40-minute call and it kills you.
Right. So we would I think this is the case, although I haven't been paying attention because Rajat's going to be handling this. The foundation, I think on that, what they've done in the past is they've created rooms named after releases. So there will be a Juno Zoom room, and they will send out the information to connect just before, I think in the morning each day, because occasionally we've had to deal with people just showing up and disrupting meetings. So they'll password protect each of the rooms, and that's the other. So if we do use the Zoom, you got to be good about actually registering this time so that you get the email so that you know how to connect. But yeah, we would use the foundation has some kind of, account with Zoom, a professional account. Now, I have not tried recording in Zoom, and I believe that's been added, although I'm not sure. I think in the past people had to use a third-party thing, but I think
really
now
easy.
it's
I use Zoom all the time, Brian. Recording's incredibly easy.
Okay, so that's another possibility. And we could probably get connection info from the foundation if we want to do a dry run of the Zoom room, Rajat, just to see. Because it would be good to know if it connects to all the places well that we need to connect to have a productive PTG. Okay.
Yeah, I can ask them regarding that.
Yeah, so if anyone here has, I forget who it is, there's somebody who shows up on the mailing list every so often, just, explaining all the reasons why you shouldn't use Zoom. So if anyone here has those feelings, please make them known before we commit to using it. Okay. All right. Thanks, Rajat. So start thinking about topics. As Rajat mentioned, the PTG is stressingly close.
Yeah, there is a section for topics. People can start adding them.
Don't say it's that stressingly close. I can't attend because I'm moving house that week.
Oh.
So don't remind me how stressingly close it is.
Yeah, at least we know you won't be having any fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Rajat. Any questions? All right. Next thing is some kind of regression from Tosky. So.
Yeah, so as you remember, we have some Tempest tests which are really running two different set of tests. First, they are running the normal Tempest test, and afterwards they're running the Cinderlib tests. And there were some changes done in the past to allow for this so that we can run the two sets of tests and the results are combined. And then it should, a failure in the first run in the Tempest test shouldn't prevent the running of the other tests. And then the final results should be the combination of the two, including the test results, the exit code. Now, I was pretty sure that I addressed this when I fixed various things, but probably I missed something because yesterday by accident I've noticed that at least one occurrence of a test which shows passed, but it does several failures in the Tempest test. So the first one, which, sorry for that, really. So something needs to be fixed, but please recheck your test results at this point because something may be broken. That specific failure was probably a glitch because it was fixed in another run, but still that doesn't mean that that doesn't make that doesn't make the problem less important. It's really critical. So I will try to find the easiest way how to fix this. And sorry again. Unless someone beats me to that, so I will be grateful for that. But yeah, and of course, if you need more details, please ask. And that's it. So
sorry, I'm trying to type this into the IRC just so there's a record for people who aren't here. So it's basically It's what you said. Just if you can read it, just to make sure I'm correct. I won't read it yet. Okay, so please. Okay, but we'll keep an eye on that. I suspect they've changed something somewhere and it's suddenly not working. Okay, all right, and you've got the example up there.
Perfect.
So, examples. Okay, and just for the record, Toski does excellent work, so he should not apologize for this. And thanks for noticing it also. Because you could just kept your mouth shut and we would have thought you were fantastic. All right, great. All right, so we'll keep an eye on that. And if somebody wants to help out, I mean, Luigi's sort of our Zool expert, but right, there's always plenty of room for other people to learn stuff. So if you want to just jump in and see what's going on with that, feel free. Okay, I think at this point we are ready for open discussion. So here we go. Anybody got anything? Okay, I'll just summarize a couple of things. So please check your calendars. Right, Rajat has a question about the dates, the timings for the PTG. So please do check that. And also think about alternative video conferencing software. Right, the big priority right now is we've got to get Alan and Rajat's Cinder patches reviewed. Alan's first because once that's merged, Rajat can rebase everything. But we need to get those done right away because they have an impact on the Cinder client release. So they're also Cinder client patches. So I'll send out an email for the final Cinder client push once we've got these 2 Cinder patches there, but you know where to go. There's the Etherpad and you can just look in Garrett to see what's available. Cinder feature freeze is happening this week. I had been thinking about doing a milestone 3 release, but I don't know that there's really a point. The main reason was the light, I forget what they call it. It's the company's Light OS, I think, but it's the Light Bits driver, or I might have that backwards. Their driver had needed a new OS brick connector and also needed some work on the Nova side. So I was thinking of maybe doing a release, but I don't think anybody tests using the releases anyway. So let me put it this way. I'm sorry, I should not be so wishy-washy. I'm not going to do a milestone 3 release of Cinder unless somebody thinks there's a good reason to do it. So it will be easy to convince on that, but I'm inclined not to do it because, we all know where the code is. We're running tests in Zool. I don't know that there's any advantage to going ahead and doing the release. Okay, so that would mean the Cinder feature freeze will be Friday, and after that there'll have to be exceptions made. Once again, if the feature list is what we've got in Launchpad, if you're a vendor, driver, maintainer, and you've got a patch up, please make sure the CI has run on it successfully, and please watch it and keep things up to date. All right, any final observations or anything? All right, I will go ahead and stop recording. So thanks for attending the meeting.